Anyway, young people, just keep trying. It's going to be okay.
And we're not the people to give advice to young people. We're just...
But I think we are, because we're still out here trying. What's up, friends? Welcome back to the number 2 pod. I'm Glenn.
I'm Simi.
And this episode is going to be the newest episode of Dopeness. Welcome back to the pod.
Dopeness?
Don't do drugs. Dope is a drug you buy at the dope store. Want some dope? Nah, I'm cutting back. I'm sober dope. Dope sober.
I'm 30 days.
Dope sober. I just got my trinket. They don't do pins. They do pieces from old Monopoly games. They gave me the little man. Anyway, welcome back to the pod. It's been a while. Thanks for tuning in. As always, if you subscribe to this podcast on whatever you're listening on, it really helps us. So thank you. Other ways you can support the pod are by clicking our affiliate links in the bio. And if you want to join us on our health and fitness journey, we're really into Whoop. My link is below. It'll change your life. Stay in the green, boys. Stay in the green. How have you been, Simi?
I've been good. When it comes to Whoop, I feel like I don't really track my progress. I feel like you track my progress more than I do.
And what does that say about your commitment to your health journey?
I don't have one.
Get it together. I love it. I like knowing more than being tired how tired I really am.
I will get notifications letting me know if I was stressed while I was awake or while I was sleeping.
The heart rate thing's no joke. That and like doing the journal for the behaviors I like. Because you're like, oh, that's why I was a raging bitch.
I never do that.
Well,
I do like seeing if I've gotten adequate sleep or not.
That's what I was saying. It's so nice. And you're like, wow, I really should go to bed. And I like that it lets you plan, because then you're like, well, how do I fix it? And it tells you how to fix it. Because otherwise you'd be like, I don't know, take a nap.
Yeah. Someone at work was like, can I ask you a question? I was like, sure. And they were like, why do you have 2 watches? Like you have the Apple Watch and you have that to track. She was like, doesn't both of those do the same thing? And I was like, honestly, this one is just my watch. The other one, my boyfriend makes me wear. And then he comes to me and he's just like, it looks like you didn't get that much sleep last night. I'm like, how do you know?
I never said that. You sent that to me.
What?
The notification about your sleep.
No, but you say that to me sometimes.
Well, sometimes I check because we're on like a community team together or whatever. I mean, that's the point of it. I try to get my family on it, but nobody wants to pay for it. But it's like sleep is everything. But it also knows, like if you're doing something and you have elevated heart, it knows. Versus Apple Watch, it's like closing circles. Like what? It's like it doesn't make any. There's 3 circles. I don't know what they mean. Standing, like, and then it's yelling at you. It's like it's too much.
What pisses me off is like when I know I've done a lot during the day and all of my circles aren't closed. I was like, did I set my goals too high?
I mean, maybe. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like Apple, it doesn't. It's inaccurate. Like because when I was taking Peloton classes, it syncs to that, and then your activity wouldn't be correct. You'd be like, there's no way. You're like, I did 2 45-minute classes. There's no way. And it's not always the goal. I don't know. It's just, I think Apple is about design and Whoop is about actually like telling you.
It's probably because I don't have the latest Apple Watch. It's like, you have a very old one. We're not going to really be accurate with that one.
They want you to spend more money. That's all Apple cares about. They've given up on innovation. They're just like, here's the same thing. Buy it. $5,000. It's so dumb. Anyway, join us on our health journey. I'll add you to my team. I think it's like join.whoop.com/Glenn with 2 N's, but the link is down below. This isn't an ad, but this is literally like get your life together advice. But
and mine
it does help us.
Is no new friends.
What's no new friends?
My team.
You made one without me?
No, I don't want no new friends.
Oh, that's like your mantra. I thought you made a Whoop team and didn't add me.
Yeah, that's my team. No new friends.
No new friends. So it's an individual team.
So it's
an individual sport.
It's actually very exclusive.
Clearly.
Me and myself.
That's wild.
Just kidding.
A lot of new stuff has been happening.
You can't be bored of your own podcast.
Sometimes I yawn when I'm bored of you. I just look at you and I'm like, boring.
So you're just probably walking around with just like an open mouth and a gaping throat of yawning.
Yawning is a natural human behavior.
Who is she? Yawning?
It's like
I don't
burping
like her.
or farting. People do it. Get over it. Relax the social norms. It's 2024.
I'm judging you.
Judge away. I'm bulletproof.
I'm bulletproof. Nothing to lose.
We can't afford the copyright on that, so edit that out. A lot of new stuff is happening in the world, and we don't care about any of it. So if you want to talk politics, if you want to talk choices, this is the wrong podcast. This is a positive podcast. And yeah, it's bored. It's boring. We don't care. You're not going to change it. Half of America wanted it, so let them have it. That's not what you came here to listen to. So we're going to update you on our lives on this pod, talk about a couple pop culture things, and have you on your merry way. So whether you're driving to work, you're walking around the block, you put us up on the tube while you're cooking something, whatever you're doing, audio, video, we're happy to have you. But we wanted to give you the tea. So what's the tea with you, Sim? You started a new job. It's going really well.
I don't like working.
What's the worst part of working? I mean, it's really wild. Like, I've had a job since I was 15, like pretty much nonstop. And every time you start a new job, every time you leave a job, you're like, I never want to work again. And then you're like, oh, I need money. So then you get another job. And then it's just like, you're like, how am I here again? And the level of coping skills you have to develop immediately.
No, I actually do like it. I like the consistency of it all. I like meeting people, talking to people, you know, like before working in freelance, it's very like spotty. It's like up and down. Sometimes you don't even know when the next job is, and the industry is very volatile right now. So it's actually really nice to have a consistent workflow. Yeah. And income for sure.
And like path to the next thing.
Yeah, and it's just nice to be busy, having something to go to every single day, and the schedule's nice.
I think it's such a good point because it's like people are at their 9 to 5s, and there is no 9 to 5. Just, you know, it's usually a 9 to 6, or it's like you work in the evening, or you work in the morning, or you work every day. But there's this weird narrative that exists where it's like, I wish I was doing this, you know, and maybe it's like something creative, maybe it's something freelance, maybe it's something you want to be a personal trainer, whatever, you know, you want to break out of the W-2, if you will. But then for those of us that have done it, successfully or not, we've done it. It's hard. You know what I mean? Like that's where I am. And I think that's where we are right now is like, I think we're refusing to work for other people creatively now. And that's why we were doing this podcast, and we're doing our own creative ventures, just because before it's like, sometimes you go work for people and it's just, you know, on a job, and then you set your rates and then they don't want to pay those rates, or there's just some type of something always going on in the freelance world, or just, you know, production world. And so you're like, or at least I was like, you know what, I'm going to get a regular schmegular consistent job that is in an industry that is very more reliable, less volatile. Yeah. And we'll just work on our own stuff creatively, because like both you and I are very talented when it comes to the creative side of just anything. And so we're just like, we'll just do it for ourselves now, less for other people. Yeah, definitely less
which
for
is a lot freeing. Like, I'd rather work a 9 to 5, like soul sucking job, and then on the side work on my own stuff creatively.
Well, and I think that's good advice for anybody trying to be creative, because you grow up kind of with this like pink halo of like, it's either this or it's this, or you're like you're like working to find that job that like mixes both. So it's like you're working creatively, but it is for somebody else to build their dream. You know what I mean? And it's like, my advice to any young person is like, yeah, experience and network is important, but like 99% of success in the creative industry is like networking and nepotism. So it's like, you have to remember, if you don't have the nepotism thing, you either have it or you don't.
That, and also
you need to like focus on your goal, you know, because every second you're spending working for somebody else's company, unless you're getting that amazing experience and you really, really need it, you're just building their dream, you know what I mean? And it's like,
which is fine if, you know,
if that's what you want to
do. What I think is important is just like the consistency. Once you decide to kind of do that, like, it's because it's easier said than done, you know, like, I think it's important to stay consistent once you make the decision to do something creative.
But that's probably the hardest lesson, like doing it for nobody. I mean, you hear people on YouTube talk about, they're like, yeah, it was like 300 videos, you know what I mean? But like, the amount of work to post 300 videos, you have no idea. I mean, we've done this podcast for a year, and the amount of work it takes.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's like, it's absolutely insane. And for what? We don't get paid for this, you know?
Yeah. And what I have to say too is just like, I think a lot of people, and I think I did for a long time, you're just waiting for someone to give you permission. And you're like, what am I waiting for? You know, like even in the acting world, I feel like these actors go out to these auditions, which 100% go off. But I feel like we live in a world right now to where we could throw our own productions, make our own art. You know, TikTok has shown that like, yeah, it's a different medium and, you know, people
Yeah.
snark at it like it's a lower type of form of art. But, you know, there's people who've gotten lots of opportunities just from being themselves on TikTok or social media. And
well, there's always going to be naysayers, and the people that are naysaying are people that are upset that the status quo is being challenged because they've either benefited from it or they're creating like a false hierarchy. And that, like, again, like advice to young people is like growing up in theater, you think, you know, you have to be the best friend of this director and you have to be the best friend of this music director. And like, that's why you're not getting cast. And at the end of the day, like it might be, you know what I mean? But it doesn't matter because they're one person, you know,
but
and there's like,
you can attest to this to where you've gone to school with people who weren't like the best in their class. You know what I'm saying? There was just like Sarah and Jessica who were like these amazing, you know, vocal gymnasts who like were just amazing. And the girl Anna in the corner who wasn't really like, you know, that popular and like maybe a little quiet. Now she's like on Broadway or doing something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's, you never know. It's just like those people who try, who like actually put themselves out there, who, you know,
it's literally the people that try. And there's so many people that are the most talented who decide it's not a negative thing. They just decide I have different values and like it's too hard and I'm done, and that's fine too. But I think as a young person, you don't see that. You don't see the journey.
You can't see past
you just
next
see,
Friday.
Yeah,
At least I couldn't.
Yeah. But you're presented like, if more times than not in theater school, any industry event, you're like shown examples of success. So it's like in theater, it's like this person went to Cincinnati Conservatory, you know, like, and because of the training and because of the network, like that's why they're a chorus member in Wicked on Broadway. And it's like, yeah, that's an excellent path. Like, and those people are successful, however you define success. But like, there's, you know, I can describe 50 other paths to so-called success. But then when you look at what was called success, like when we were young, it's hard. You don't make very much money on Broadway, you know? So like, yeah, you're in a hit, but you're living paycheck to paycheck and you have 3 roommates in New York. You know what I mean? And then it's like, well, what do I do now? The same thing was kind of like when I moved to LA. It's like, oh, there's all these opportunities. Well, you know, you go to the auditions and you're like, well, I don't want to be in a commercial. You know what I mean? Like artistically, you know, like, yeah, you want a big paycheck, but like, okay, you know, say you magically booked the Geico commercial that is going to pay you forever. Like, great, you know, you're 1 in a million, but nobody's going to hire you to be in a serious movie if you're the Geico person, you know? So it's like, what's the goal?
I don't think that's necessarily true. Yeah, because we've seen like the progressive girl. She's like been cast.
Well, there's that one girl. Yeah. Anyway, young people, just keep trying. It's going to be okay.
And we're not the people to give advice to young people. We're just.
But I think we are, because we're still out here trying. And like, that's what's positive, you know, like, because the advice you're going to get from somebody that, you know, is on a TV show right now, or it was in a movie, but now is not in, is unemployed, or did one commercial, is going to be, this was my path, and like, just keep trying. And it's super hard, you know? I mean, same with behind the camera, like same with behind the scenes. Like you would think, like, for example, for me, like theater, like there's a bunch of professional theaters in Los Angeles, you know, and like I've tried really hard many times over 11 years to just get like an usher job. And that's hard. You know what I mean? Like it has not been available to me, or like the right timing, or, you know, so it's like, even the things you think in your head, you're like, oh, that totally makes sense for something I'm passionate about. Like, and that doesn't even require singing or dancing or acting or anything, you know, like it's very challenging. So I think it's about remembering perseverance and being adaptable and having more than one goal. Anyway, so we're still out here. We're still crushing it. We're still trying, but we're also trying to pay our bills and succeed in the corporate world of America. So that's a little update on us, in case you were curious.
Us?
Yeah, what we're up to, what we're doing.
What were you up to? Glenn's got a new goal, a new fitness goal.
I'm working on my health. I'm working on my fitness.
Working out every single day like a madman.
I'm working out. I'm trying to get my head straight, trying to get in the best shape of my life. I think you are too.
The foods that he's eating are just
chicken and rice. I don't know if you've heard of them.
You've been eating a lot lately. Like there's a lot of meals that you have to eat.
Turns out to look good, you have to eat a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of my
That's not my case.
Yeah, nothing else new with me. Still teaching spin classes. Come take my class. I'm getting pretty good. I have a very loyal back row. I'm on my health journey. I'm getting some hours at my W-2, but not really. It's a little hard to live off of 8 hours. So if somebody in the scheduling department can hook a boy up, that would be great. Because I can only teach so many spin classes without dying. But otherwise, nothing new with me.
What are your goals for the year?
My goals for this year would be pay all my bills without having to ask for help, be consistent with my health goals. So working out, eating healthy, sleeping, taking care of my mental health. Mental health was like really bad last year. If you watch the podcast, I'm sure you saw plenty of examples of that. I think this year I'm really prioritizing myself. I think a lot of people are doing this because you kind of look around you and realize the obvious, but it's, time, and it's like tale as old as time. No, but it's like the Mel Robbins saying, like, no one's coming, like nobody gives a shit about your goals, like your family wants you to be safe. Your friends and your loved ones just like are doing their best. So it's like, you really have to like commit, to what you want in your life. And like, you can't, for somebody that's a creative like me, it's like, I want to pursue certain creative things, but you have to pay your rent. And you have to have good health. As a creative person, it's like you can't be creative when you're in like fight or flight mode, So it's like finding that balance of like, I have my shit together. And then you kind of like take a step forward and you're like, wow, like I want to create and do things and put stuff out there and like be fulfilled. So I think that's my goal this year. Like get there a little bit. Do you have a big overarching goal for? I feel like we talked about New Year's resolutions, but we didn't talk about goals.
Try to take over the world.
Learn the piccolo. You heard it here first. Simi McManus taking over the world. One podcast at a time. I love that. A man of few words.